Let's now move to the situation in Moldova. People there voting by a wafer-thin majority in favour of securing the country's path towards membership of the European Union. This followed a ballot that nearly caused a major setback for the pro-Western President Maia Sandu, who's accusing criminal groups of trying to undermine the vote. Let's bring in our correspondent, Maria Gerd-Nicolescu, who's in the capital of Moldova, Chisinau. Maria, great to see you. Give us the latest there on this result, which turned out to be a lot closer than many would have predicted.
A very tight vote indeed. The referendum passed with just 50.3% of yes votes. Less than 12,000 ballots made the difference here. The Moldovan diaspora massively voted in favor of the referendum with over 75% of yes votes, which helped tip the balance and ultimately secure a victory for the pro-European camp. This, however, shows how divided the country remains regarding the European Union, and Moldovan authorities are saying that this tight result could also be linked to, partially linked at least, to foreign interference and voter corruption. Earlier today, Maia Sandu said that 300,000 votes had been bought. She also spoke of foreign interference and on an attack on Moldova's democracy. In October, prosecutors had already revealed that 15 million euros were spent through Russian banks in an electoral corruption scheme. On Monday, the Kremlin, however, asked for proof for what it called grave accusations. But the political battle is not over yet here in Moldova. In 2 weeks, we'll see the second round of the presidential elections, and Maia Sandu, current president Maia Sandu, will face the socialist candidate Alexander Stoyanoglu.
So in many ways, Maria, is the issue of the EU very much a kind of, if you like, a judgment of Sandu and her leadership?
Well, she's made European integration the main topic of her mandate, but also of her re-election campaign. So there are very high chances that in the second round of the presidential election, those who have voted yes in the EU referendum will also vote in favor of Maia Sandu. This is also one of the arguments of the opposition parties and candidates, saying that she's used the referendum to basically manipulate voters into re-electing her. But her response to that is that she actually needs this legitimacy, and she needs to show that the population in Moldova is in favor of EU integration so that she can move on with negotiations in Brussels. Negotiations have already started earlier this year, and she's very much intent, now that the referendum has passed, on continuing these negotiations. The Moldovan EU aspirations will also be enshrined into the constitution, which will make it more difficult for a potential future government to derail it from this path. We'll have to see how things play out politically. She's likely to face continuous political opposition for the EU integration, and we'll see that Russian interference is also expected to continue as elections are planned next year as well, parliamentary elections this
Indeed.
time.
President Sandu not mincing her words in saying that she believes that Russia is responsible for that. I wonder, just quickly, Maria, can you tell us about the sort of the feeling among the people? You know, you're there, you talk to people, you listen to what they're saying. How are they feeling with this one? It strikes from the outside, it seems like the country is really split.
Yes, the results of the referendum have shown how split and divided the country is on this issue surrounding EU integration. For those who were in favor of EU integration, well, the victory is difficult to be celebrated in full swing because they were expecting, obviously, a much more favorable result for the referendum. Maia Sandu's opponents, however, are celebrating a victory because they think that this tight result shows how little backing she actually has for EU integration. But the second round of the presidential election will give us further information on what the people in Moldova actually want. And let's not forget that this comes amid Russian interference in Moldova's politics. So we'll also have to see investigations coming out on this topic as we move forward.
Maria Nicolescu, please keep us across all developments. Great speaking to you. Thank you very much indeed, Maria, for joining us. Let's broaden our analysis and bring in now Clara Voluntiru, who's from the German Marshall Fund of the United States, joining us from Bucharest, Romania. Clara, thanks for being with us. We've heard from our correspondent about President Sandu talking about votes being bought, some 300,000 votes being bought. Now, would 300,000 votes sway the election or not? I don't know. But the very fact that that is going on is alarming, isn't it?
Of course it is. And clientelistic interference into elections has been a decades, if not centuries-old phenomenon that has distorted electoral outcomes. And electoral integrity, not just in the Republic of Moldova, but all across the eastern periphery of the European Union and inside the European Union, has been a very important battle for all of us fighting in the belief of democratic values. Russian interference has indeed played many tactics in distorting electoral processes, from propaganda on social networks to this very human form of peer-to-peer clientelistic networks. So the 300,000 votes that were bought or, let's say, manipulated are essentially a network of clientelistic distribution of money coming in from shore, who is residing outside of the Republic of Moldova in the Russian territory. And so it is a very novel, entrepreneurial even, we might say, form of clientelistic interference into the electoral process. But that being said, I don't think that was a critical mass in these elections. That target electorate was already pro-Russian. So we need to understand other variables in play in order to understand where these elections are heading.
So it may not have been as important as perhaps I'm thinking when I'm hearing those words coming from our correspondent. I'm also thinking about what Elon Musk is doing in the United States in terms of paying people to vote for Donald Trump. It seems to me that comes from the same stable. It may be a different rider of the horse in some way, shape or form. But let's not talk about that. Let's get back to Moldova and the important issue at hand here, because Maia Sandu wants to make membership of the EU very much part and parcel of what Moldova does going forward. Is that now at risk?
No, I think the tactical option to put forward a referendum now was the right call, given that the interferences and popular disenchantment might still grow. I refer to popular disenchantment because we have 42% of the population in Moldova still on the fence, still wanting good relations with the European Union and good relations with Russia, mostly out of fear of aggression. And that population, that majority in the middle, can be very easily swayed by contextual factors. The past government is footing the bill for a series of unpopular measures and contextual factors, from rising energy bills, energy prices because of the war in Ukraine, to, let's say, a scale down of social programs, given the more pro-liberal, pro-market approach of the past government. I think the one mistake that this referendum or the president has done in calling up this referendum now was that there wasn't a broader coalition of political forces supporting the EU agenda. And it ended up being a sole proponent of the European agenda in her person and her party. And she needs more allies. And I think going into the next parliamentary elections next year, that will be the main challenge, to find coalition partners to continue to rule in a pro-European, pro-Western mandate.
Clara Voluntiru of the German Marshall Fund of the United States, thank you for sharing your analysis with us here on France 24. We really appreciate your time. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Of course, watching